So welcome to our revision session. Today we're doing a very important topic. That's a common GNC asked question, the process of bone healing. Okay, so as you're approaching your exam, you must be able to explain what the process of bone healing is. Okay, so by the end of this video, you must be able to draw a well-labeled diagram of a bone and a joint. You should be able to explain the process of bone healing. You should be able to explain the functions of bones. Okay, so a bone is a strong and durable type of connective tissue. It consists of water, 25% of organic consistent, which include osteoids. Okay, so the carbon containing part of the matrix, and the bone cells, 25% of inorganic consistently, mainly calcium. Phosphate is about 50%. Okay, yeah. So this is a diagram of a joint. This is a diagram of a joint. Okay, so remember principles when drawing a diagram still remain. So when you're drawing a diagram, always remember to put a well underlined heading. Okay, a well underlined heading, and your diagram should be in a frame after you've labeled. So all labels should be on one side. Okay, should be on one side, and always remember to draw your diagram using a pencil. Okay, always remember to draw your diagram using a pencil. Okay, yeah. So this is our joint. Okay, this is a joint. So parts of a joint that you should include when you're drawing a joint, you need to include the peristeum. Okay, you need to include the peristeum, you need to include the bone, you need to include the articulator cartilage, you need to include the synovial membrane, so a synovial membrane, it is a blue part that you see just right outside there. That's a synovial membrane. Okay, you should be able to include the capsule. So the capsule is the outermost layer where we see the yellow part there, and you should be able to include the synovial cavity. So in the synovial cavity, you find a fluid called the synovial fluid, which mostly aids in the process of locomotion. Okay, promoting smooth locomotion. Okay, yeah. So this is a diagram of the joint. So this is another diagram that we have, the diagram of a bone. Okay, so specifically, this is a diagram of a short bone. Okay, yeah. So parts of the short bone, we have got the cancellous bone. So the cancellous bone mostly contain the red marrow. Okay, the red bone marrow. We have the peristeum. So the peristeum is the outer part of the bone. Okay, we have the medullary canal. So the medullary canal contains yellow bone marrow. Okay, we have the compact bone. We have the nutrient artery in the foramen. And we have the hyaline membrane just right down there. Okay, and then the other side we have got the epiphysis. And then we have the diaphysis, and we have down the epiphysis. Okay, yeah. So that's the diagram of a short bone. Okay, and we have a diagram of a long bone. So a diagram of a long bone. So parts of the long bone, to be specific, this is a femur. Okay, this is a femur. So parts of a long bone, we have the neck of the femur, we have the greater trochanter, we have the intratrochanteric line, we have the lateral chondria, we have the medial chondria, we have the popliteal surface, and we have the linea aspera, we have the lesser trochanter, and we have the head of the femur. So these are parts of the long bone, or parts of the femur. Okay, yeah. Functions of bones. So functions of bones. The first function that we have, bones provide a framework of the body. Okay, so each living creature has got a certain framework. Okay, human beings have got a certain framework. Lions have got a certain framework. Okay, so to distinctively know that this is a human body, there's a certain type of framework that the bone should be arranged in. Okay, yeah, so they give us that framework to know that this body that we're having is a body of a human being. Okay, so it gives attachment between the tendons and the muscles. It gives attachment between the tendons and the muscles. Okay, so the attachment between bone to bone is what we call a joint. Okay, the attachment between bone and muscle is a tendon. Okay, yeah, so all those things are the function of bone. Okay, the functions of bone. Okay, so permanent movement of the body as a whole and of parts of the body by forming joints and arranges movements by muscles. Okay, so in the process of locomotion is aided by the skeletal system, the muscular system, the central nervous system. Okay, yeah, so that's generally locomotion. Okay, so in a case where explanation comes in, we'll be talking about impulses sent from the brain. Okay, the motor impulses goes to the muscles, stimulate the muscles excite. Okay, so there will be excitation of the muscles due to those impulses. Okay, and remember the actin and the axin. Okay, there will be excitation and there will be movements that will take place in presence of calcium. Okay, so that movement will cause movement and excitation in the muscles. Okay, so if the muscles get to be excited, there will be a contraction that may occur. So at contraction, for a locomotion to be successful, there'll be pulling of the bones. Okay, pulling of the bones and also movements of the joint. Okay, there'll be movement of the joint. So generally when we talk about locomotion, that's what we talk about. Okay, as movement in other words. Okay, so they form a barrier of the cranial, thoracic and pelvic cavity, protecting the organs they contain. Okay, so let's get, for example, we've got okay, the cranial bones, such as the frontal bone, the nasal bone, the zygomatic, the ethmoid, the sigmoid, the occipital, okay, the parietal bones, all those cranial bones. So the cranial bones mostly protect the brain. Okay, they protect the brain, they protect the nasal cavity inside, they protect the eyes themselves. Okay, yeah, so delicate organs inside. So we talk about the thoracic cavity. Under the thoracic cavity we have got the sternum, we have got the collarbones. Okay, we have got the collarbones, we have got the ribs themselves. Okay, so all those bones, they help to protect the organs that are internal. Okay, we talk about the pelvic bone, we have got the isthmus. Yeah, we have the isthmus, we have the pelvic bone. Okay, we have the pubic bone and we have the iliac bone. Okay, the iliac bone. So these bones, they protect the organs that are inside. Okay, that are being contained inside. Okay, yeah, so they contain bone marrow, red bone marrow, in which blood cells develop. They contain red bone marrow in which blood cells develop. So a process in which blood is produced is called erythropoiesis. Okay, so in the process of erythropoiesis, by the influence of the hormone called erythropoietin. Okay, it helps in the production of blood. When erythropoietin is excreted, it goes down into the bone marrow, stimulates the process of erythropoiesis, where blood production will start occurring. Okay, so those are some of the functions of the bones. Let's look into the main course of this topic. Okay, so having known the functions, you should be able to explain the process of bone healing. Okay, so for bone healing, so following when an individual has got a fracture, okay, so the first thing that happens is there will be hematoma formation, which will be between the ends of the bone. Okay, let's say a fracture occurs just the ends of the bone due to increased blood supply to the affected area. Okay, to the affected area. So there will be hematoma formation just surrounding the site of injury. So after hematoma formation, we'll have acute inflammation, and also there will be accumulation of macrophages. So the macrophages will help in breaking down the hematoma. Okay, will help in breaking down the hematoma. So after help of phagocytosis, okay, after help of phagocyte, just in short breaking down, okay, so there will be inflammatory exudates. So these inflammatory exudates may include small fragments of bones without blood vessels. Okay, so normally this process takes about 5 days. It takes about 5 days. Okay, so after this there will be supply of so there will be supply of fibroblasts. Okay, so the fibroblasts will more like migrate to the site. Okay, will migrate to the site. Okay, so after they migrate to the site, okay, so normally there will be regain of tissues and building of new capillaries. Okay, so after building of new capillaries begin, also the formation of new bones will start at a larger number. Okay, so this will now stimulate the supply of osteoblasts which will be excreted. Okay, which will be excreted. So the osteoblasts will start excreting Hoven bones. So Hoven bones simply means non-laminar bones. Okay, they simply mean non-laminar bones. The non-laminar bones, these are formless bones. Okay, so they start excreting. Okay, so as they are being excreted, um, so these are, it will help into calcification of the bone. So normally this takes about a week. Okay, so calcification, that's more like solidifying. Okay, so it will help into calcification and also formation of a callus. Okay, a callus as a inside the bone. Okay, it will help into formation of a callus. Okay, so after formation of the callus, the osteoblast and the osteocyte will go to the site. Okay, will go to the site. So remember what the osteoclast and osteoblast does. So osteoblast will excrete more non-laminar bones. Okay, and then the osteoclast will break down the non-laminar in order to shape the bone in an organized way. Okay, so as the osteoblast have been secreting, the osteoclast also be breaking down the bone, the non-laminar, making them to be in a laminar form. Okay, yeah. So now this will help. So this will help the callus to mature. Causing a reuniting of the bone. Okay, so this will help in reuniting of the bone. So this normally takes about 3 weeks. Okay, so the shaping of the bone, it's remember the help of the osteoclast. By the help of the osteoclast, there'll be reshaping of the bone. Okay, so normally this takes about weeks to months for a bone to be completely reshaped. Okay, so in this time the bone usually heals completely and regains its original features. The osteoblast and the osteoclast tend to lose their function. So that's the process of bone healing at large. Okay, so if you're asked to explain the process of bone healing, at least you have an understanding of what is happening on the ground. Okay, thank you and stay blessed.